Good morning, folks. A large earthquake has struck Oceania, producing a small tsunami. We've got new sunspots on the disk, major weather events to report, and top science news. Let's go to spaceweathernews.com. We're finding the dark coronal hole crossing center heliographic longitudes. We did indeed magnetically connect to it as expected. We also have tiny little solar flares. They're coming from the small crackling of that new sunspot group developed nicely at birth, but already turning away from Earth-directed position. Flares would be towards the limb if they come. Solar wind up next. Slight variability, but still down at moderate intensity range only. It's kept the KP up off the floor but hasn't produced geomagnetic instability. We expect another stream to arrive near the start of the weekend from this Earth-facing coronal hole, but yesterday we expected to connect magnetically, and connect we did. Earthquake watch didn't wait to hit again as the 7.5 struck New Caledonia. It did produce a small tsunami, which maxed out at 2 to 3 feet in height, about the same as a king tide in the region. The earthquake did hit the region that was on red alert, and as for the rest of your forecasting, folks, Terrence Allen's alert for that region expired 19 hours too early, or he would have won his second trip to observing the frontier. Remember, calling the magnitude 7s and higher get you the tickets, as well as the server surplus pool as well. Let's go to Australia. Convergence line had to cross the water from the low, but it fed off that as well. Hail, wind, flash flooding, and even some tornadic activity as the storm lashed the northeast part of the country. Up next, it was Saudi Arabia, where yet another major hailstorm has struck. Just 2 weeks ago, we saw the desert underwater, and another round has commenced. Also wanted to note the major cold wave in South Korea means the less weather-prepared North Korean civilians are enduring a rough night. Let's go to the volcanoes. Peruvian geological teams sent up a drone into an erupting volcano not long ago. They have released their footage this week of them entering the towering plume. And speaking of volcanoes, this one is set to change everything. Instead of magma chambers feeding volcanoes, which have never actually been seen, this team has figured out that it's the crystal-heavy mush reservoirs feeding the eruptions. The expulsion of magma from the spaces between the crystals leads to the eruption, but it also leads cosmic ray science down a cleaner pathway to explosive eruption forcing. The stats are real, but we now look at cosmic ray effects on crystals, not just magma. Interesting piece out of Chandra revealing that a Type 1a supernova is about to go off in the Small Magellanic Cloud. They really don't know if it'll be in 1,000 or 10,000 years, or if it already happened and the light is still on its way here. But they are saying the cannibalism within the binary system is causing the hungrier star to brighten faster than any such pair ever seen, all before the actual supernova has begun. FYI, the study actually began with Assassin's discovery of the brightening transient. Wasn't until they pointed Chandra that they realized what was happening. Fun little study on the Pacific Northwest and lightning. 15% difference exists between excess flashing during El Nino and a deficit during La Nina. They say it's a function of tropical storm position in the East Pacific, and I want you to recall that one of the primary drivers of the ENSO cycle is indeed the sun. Last but not least, an outstanding cover of the history of planetary formation theory. It's a long scroll of accounting mistakes and assumptions and reconsideration and sorrow at how wrong they have been. Two big takeaways are that the planets seem to be forming too quickly for their models. The slow crawling concept must heed to a faster one, and a magic one, since the planets appear to also have more mass than is available to make them. They're bigger than their ingredients. That 1% number is about a system that has 100 times the mass in the planets than they saw available to make them. Folks, the Awake event of the year is 70 days away. The ticket giveaway will be in about 2 weeks, but right now, Kat says we'll draw tonight from the list of attendees, and you'll get to choose between a copy of the book and a year's membership on the website. Register by 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. We've got your win maps, followed by shots of our star to close. We'll do this all again tomorrow, right here, but right now it's 3:45 a.m. in the new Valley of the Sun. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.